You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 263 of Teach Better Talk podcast. My name is Ray Hewer, and as always, I'm with Jeff Gargas, and we have been talking shop for a long while here, right before we just started to hit play, and we've covered a lot of topics. So, should we catch him up? Should we catch him up on our conversation so far?
I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, we've been talking to Chris here for a while before actually letting him cut this and start it.
We should preface, when we say we've been talking to Chris, we mean that Chris gets this audio days and days later, but we talk to him. It's a very one-sided
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff that he has to cut out so that you guys get somewhat reasonably valuable content.
I think he said that on the 12-hour live segment he was in. He was like, yeah, I really like when you guys talk to me. I just cut it out. It's usually like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my God.
He said, it's only, I'm sorry, something about, I think I apologize. He said, well, it's only like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, it's a long time.
It's a long time. We did maybe do that today. So sorry, Chris.
Possibly, yes.
Whatever.
Yeah, there's a chance that happened.
Yeah. So
anyway,
how are you?
I'm
Jeff?
good. We just did the 12-hour live a couple days ago. By the time this comes out, it'll be like almost 2 weeks. But when we recorded, it was 3 days ago or 2 days ago. And that was a long day, but it was awesome. It was fun. It was
really good segments. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch, there was a ton. But from the feedback we've been getting, like the grid method Q&A that we did was really fun. We talked about being an equity advocate. That was super popular. We talked SEL with Mandy Frainville. That was super popular. I interviewed Kim Bearden, which was really, really, really fun for me. Bucket list item. And then Mickey Smith Jr. stole it out of the park.
Mickey Smith Jr. became Dave's hero. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the admin mastermind was one that I think a lot of people enjoyed. It
was awesome.
For sure. So anyway, go check them out. They're all in the Academy.
Yeah, you can actually go to teachbetteracademy.com. It's a free course, and each segment, there's 15 different segments that are all broken up in the Academy, so you can go through and watch them however you want. So exciting. So that was 12 hours live.
Yep.
What I want you to talk about is not 12-hour live, but it's going to equal to 7 hours or something. I don't know, because I don't know how long we're doing. But we're going to do 7 days in a row this week. It's started. When you listen to this, we may be live right now. I don't know. But we're going from May 3rd through the 9th. We're going through the 9th. 7 days, going live every single day. I don't even know what time that's at, but I know you know all this info. So who's on the docket for this? What's the schedule?
I'm going to let you keep talking because you have the bare minimum, barely any information.
I know that I am live on Friday night with Chad Ostrowski. The boys are back in town kind of thing going on with that. That's about all I know. I know Maurice is going to be live one day.
Wow, this is really detailed information. Our listeners are going to get so much from this.
I'm guessing that it's going to be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yeah, true.
And at Teach Better Team. And there you go. That's what I got.
So guys, here's actually the details if you want to tune in and not just catch it after the fact. Because we always love that anytime we stream on social media, everything's saved, right? Anytime you go live on Facebook, it saves for you. So anytime we say that we're live and you miss it, no stress. You can watch it after the fact. But it is really fun to catch it live because we really believe in interacting with the comments. It's an entire experience anytime we're live where we get to chat and talk shop with our network. So try and catch us live because it just makes the conversation more entertaining. But we were talking about Teachers Appreciation Week. And to be completely fair, but you're our podcast listeners, so we do like to tell you the secrets. Our plans for Teacher Appreciation Week have been completely blown up in flames. We had this idea,
way, though, right? In a good way.
Oh, depends.
That sounds bad. That sounds bad. It sounds like we had plans and they all fell apart.
No. I mean, we had plans, but when you plant a seed in the member of the Teach Better team, it creates 3 million ideas that everyone wants to execute.
Other than blown up with flames.
Okay,
how about exploded with glitter or something fun,
Okay, glitterbomb.com over here, guys. It was insane. So what happened was we went to a few of our Teach Better team leads and said, hey, Teacher Appreciation Week, we support teachers. Maybe we should like do something special. Holy moly, did this take off. We have a ton going on this week, but talking about one thing going on is we are doing a 7-day live series to celebrate teachers. So we're going live every single day, May 3rd through the 9th. It's a Monday through Sunday.
That's
we're
like
going
an
live.
entire week.
It's an entire week, Jeff Gargas. It's at 6 o'clock Eastern. And ask me why it's at 6 o'clock Eastern, Jeff Gargas.
Hey, Ray, why is it at 6 o'clock Eastern?
Because we do so many stinking things that we're live for. It was the only time we
It was
could
the only
make it
time we
work.
could make it work, so it was the same time every day, right?
Literally same time every day. Because nothing is different that week. We still do all the same stuff. We're just like adding an additional live.
I like it.
So every single day we're going live. We have a featured guest and a Teach Better team member. And sometimes it's 2 Teach Better team members. Sometimes it's a member of our speakers network. But they all have topics they're sharing on in addition to then taking your questions and sharing their appreciation for educators. So here's the layout really quick I'm going to go through. On the 3rd of May at 6 o'clock Eastern, everything's
Today.
at 6 o'clock
That's
Eastern.
when this comes out.
Yes. At 6 o'clock Eastern, we are talking about grading and evaluating for understanding with Caitlin Giordano and Megan Deegan, which is going to be so much fun.
Nice.
On the 4th, we're talking about re-engaging students after COVID with Kevin Butler and myself. We're going to have a blast, let me tell you.
Okay.
I know. On the 5th, we're talking educator mental health with Mandy Freilich and Dave Schmittou. On the 6th, we're talking about coaching and supporting coaches in the new normal with P. Sloan Joseph and Dave. Wait, I messed that up. Mandy Freilich and me, P. Sloan Joseph and Dave. Wait, I messed that up. Did you get that?
You get Kevin Butler and
I
Mandy
get Mandy. I get Mandy and Kevin Butler.
Oh, I see who was in charge of this, but go ahead.
Yeah. Are you kidding? I'm not passing up opportunities to go live with Kevin and Mandy. No, crazy.
Just saying.
Dave Schmittou is going live with P. Sloan Joseph.
That's going to be a fun combo right there.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we have on the 7th, instruction for today with Chad Ostrowski and I don't know, some guy named Jeff Gargas. Super cool.
Okay. And Saturday.
And then Saturday is counseling through crisis with Joshua Stamper and Maurice Martin.
Ooh, I'm pumped for that one.
Right?
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Last but not least, we're going to talk reflection and continual growth, that mindset, the process of all that with Olivia Chan and myself. I'm really excited.
Nice. Ooh, I like that. That's great for that. That's going to be fun. So, question, Ray.
Question, go away.
Say I'm like, I didn't quite get all that. And I don't really want to rewind this podcast because I want to see what Dave has to say in this episode. Is there some place that I could go that could just make it, I don't know, maybe add it to my calendar or something, to my Google Calendar so I don't miss any of this?
Wow, what a great question, Jeff Gargas. You can actually go to teachbetter.com/events calendar and you can add all these details with reminders and updates in your calendar over at teachbetter.com/events calendar.
That was a good idea.
Wow, that was a really good idea. I wonder who thought of that.
That was a great idea. Yeah, it really was. That was a good idea to do that. Okay.
Hey,
awesome.
By the way, I wish I could get credit for that calendar idea, but it was totally the ambassadors that made us do that.
Well, thank you, ambassadors. We love our ambassadors for lots of reasons.
We do.
So that was awesome. So yeah, so that's all all this week. We got all kinds of stuff going on, which is really fun. So watch.
Yeah, hey guys, I do want to preface. There's like a ton going on this week.
Like,
this was one piece, so I'm glad you guys are joining us live. But please go check out.
Check out the Instagram, our Instagram stories all week because we have people taking over all week long too. So that's awesome as well.
And all the codes, like holy cow!
Yeah, free. Oh yeah. What's the code? 25% off any course and any swag item. It's just we love you, right?
We love you.
Just we love you. Just put it in either site at teachbetteracademy.com or teachbetterswag.com. Good calling that.
Hey Jeff, there's also a giveaway this week. Anyway, we should move on.
Jeez. Okay. Well, they have to figure that one out on social media. You probably have to comment boom somewhere or something. Anyway, so let's talk about the episode. David Frangiosa, good dude. We've been this was like our first we've been connected to him, but we've never really got a chance to chat with him a lot. And this was awesome because his book had just come out. So we talked about that, but David is a high school science teacher. A teacher for, I think he said 15 years. He's over in Jersey. Good dude. We get into with his book, because his book is about going gradeless, so he gets in there a little bit. There may or may not be some Chad Ostrowski references in there as well. Really dig this guy's passion and his reflection on failure, and the dude knocks the 6 questions out of the park. So, good episode. Ray, other than not being able to win his book, which someone else is going to be able to win, what's the takeaway here?
The takeaway, guys, is that I already bought it. So it's in my Amazon cart. And for whoever wins the book, we should do a book study. And if you don't win the book, by the way, I'll do a book study with you. Go buy the book, but put it in your Amazon cart. I literally did it during this episode, so no shame. Whatever.
I love it. All right, let's get an episode 263 with David Frangiosa. Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff. Don't worry, I'm going to get you right back in the episode. But first, I want to introduce you to our Comeback Better packages. You know, COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic, has really changed so much about how we live our lives, how we socialize, and especially how we run our schools and classrooms. As we begin to look towards the next school year, things are going to be different. But we can be better because of it. That's where our Comeback Better packages come in. These have been strategically designed to support you and your staff as you prepare for or manage things like preparing a growth mindset, preparing to close the learning gaps created by COVID-19 and school closures, restructuring curriculum alignment, continuing creating safe environments for dialogue and reflection, supporting an in-person or virtual or hybrid learning environment, and supporting staff and students whose socioeconomic status has changed due to COVID-19. We are here for you. These packages are 100% customizable to fit your staff, your students, your community, and your needs. Find out more at teachbetter.com/comebackbetter. Let's get back to the episode. All right, we are here. We are chatting with Dave Frangiosa. And Dave, man, it's so awesome to have you on the podcast. Super excited to chat with you. We just found out that your book just came out, so that's super exciting. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Really want to just kind of get into you, your backstory, what you're all about. But before we get too far into that stuff, how you feeling right now, man?
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Okay, not only does book just come out, guys, but it's ongoing Gradeless. Like, this is going to need to be discussed. Dave, I understand that we're a new connection, but I might become your fast new best friend, just so you're aware. Whether by choice or by force, I'm not sure.
I'm open to it.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I want to make sure our listeners can get to know you because we're recently connected. I'm really excited to stalk all things, Dave, coming up here in a bit. But our listeners also, I'm sure, want to hear about your background. And then, of course, we'll ask you all these questions and a ton about your book. So would you mind kind of answering that age-old question of like, hey, Dave, what do you do?
Well, I'm a physics teacher, but when I talk about what I do, I really refer to myself as a coach in the classroom. I've kind of gone away from those traditional practices, and I really just try and remove all the obstacles that get in the way of kids learning. And so when people ask me what I do, that's really what it is. You know, I've gone through a few iterations of who I was as a teacher, which I'm sure we'll get to, but that's where I'm at now. The guide on the side, coach in the classroom approach, that's been very effective for me, and I love it. I teach high school physics, mostly 11th graders, and I deal with a lot of students that typically aren't the most successful with school.
I love it. So we've already mentioned Dave, so I'm just going to take us right to the book right off the bat. So the book just came out earlier this month with Corwin. Give us the breakdown. Let us know, tell everyone what the title is and break down like what it's about. I know it took a while to come together, so I really want to hear that story. Can you give us the story of like where the idea spurred from, the process of putting together, and how you're feeling now that it's out? Like, who's the book for, everything?
Yeah, sure. So the book, it's Going Gradeless, Shifting the Focus to Student Learning. And that's been my mission for the majority of my career, is how do we get students to truly learn? Because earlier in my career, it was all about grades. It was, how do I get this grade? Or like, it was goal oriented, and they're looking at June and September and not developing the skills that I knew that they needed to have in order to be successful. And really, this kind of spurred from frustration. And I got to a point where I just couldn't take it anymore, and I couldn't have that same conversation over and over again without getting any different results. I had tried, the the inquiry based, the project based learning, and with some limited success, but it always kind of plateaued. And it wasn't until I started putting a lot of these concepts together that I started seeing, a real benefit to the students. And I actually enjoyed teaching a whole lot more as we shifted to this model. So about 6 years ago, he was my assistant principal at the time. He's currently my principal, Tim Wieland. He asked me, well, he was actually talking to another teacher about piloting a gradeless classroom, and I overheard it. And it was during one of my most challenging years. I said, I want to try it. I knew nothing about it, had no background in it whatsoever, never read an article, a book, anything. And so I just kind of like dove in. And this was earlier in the year. And I had planned on going through that year and rolling it out the following September, but I kind of had everything that I wanted to pilot done by October, November. And everybody in the district was so supportive that I actually rolled it out at the semester break, which was awesome because I got to collect a lot of great data. I got to compare the same group of students from a traditional graded model to a gradeless or standards-based grading model in the second half of the year, where really the only thing that changed was the model. And so I knew the students, they knew me. Nothing about the course changed, none of the assessments. It was really just the reporting of it. And even though admittedly it was a terrible model and we're way past where that started, I saw some wins from students that would typically be out of the classroom the majority of the period, wouldn't hand in work. The one student, she had like a 44 average in the first semester. And it wasn't because she couldn't do things. It was she avoided because her effort, it took her more effort just to get to where all the other students were. And it was a little frustrating for her. In the second half of the year, she didn't leave the classroom as much. She was participating in labs. And when she started getting those authentic wins of, I can actually do something here, she flourished. And that second half of the year, she wound up getting a 77 in that model. And just like that growth from that student alone, with all the flaws that I saw in everything that I was doing, knowing that a student could grow that much in such a short period of time, I knew that I had to investigate this further, and I just had to keep going. So over time, I didn't go the traditional way where I looked at what other standards-based or alternate assessment gradeless practitioners were doing. I went back to the educational research. So I went back and I read Bloom's. I read John Sweller's cognitive load theory, Ruth Butler with her feedback research, and Dylan William and the formative assessment. And so I went back to all of those things and just started putting elements of that together. And over 6 years, we got to a point where we had a model that was really effective for our students. And we always wanted to focus on transferable skills, stuff that they could use outside of our classroom. Because, to be really honest, I knew that the majority of my students weren't going to be physicists. A lot of them really didn't even enjoy science. So I really focused on, okay, we're using this as a vehicle to give you transferable skills that will help you in whatever you decide to do. And we built this so we could kind of expand it, because we know that collective efficacy, like if we're all good, that's better for our students. So we built this with that in mind. And, in our book, we actually talk to ELA teachers, we talk to math teachers, history teachers, and we show examples of how this platform could expand not only to a science class. This isn't how we do it. This is just how students learn, how we can eliminate those obstacles across, all subjects, and how we can maybe get to a common language where students don't look at this as, this is how I learn in your class. They just look at it as, this is how I learn. And, we try to give practical examples. We give a step-by-step guide on, if you're looking to go gradeless, here's how you can do it. We're also, anybody who's in the process, who's already doing this, we reached a few different plateaus, and we talk about those plateaus and what we saw.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Right before you said we try to make this for everyone, I was sitting here going, so what you're telling me is it's for everyone, right? Because I agree, like the way you laid it out. I love that. Couple notes that grabbed me. One was, Ray, is how much Chad Ostrowski I heard in there.
Right.
Started in a year that they were struggling and having a hard time focusing on the growth versus the actual percentage, the feeling the win. Dave, if you don't know who Chad is, Chad's our CEO, co-founder. He's also the creator of the grid method. Yeah. So like, it's so much of your story just echoes how the grid method was formed. And he didn't go to where what everyone else was doing in the classroom. He went to this research, and that's what he pulled out and was focused on. I love the story of the student who got 77, because a lot of people were looking like, oh, she only got a 77, still struggling. But you said, no, look at the growth that this student had. Right? You focused on the growth, which I thought was just awesome. The other thing that really stood out to me was the fact that you were talking about how do we instill transferable skills in them, not focused on are they going to be scientists, do they love science, but how do we utilize science as the vehicle, I think is how you put it, to instill these skills in them, right? I think that's incredible. And then you said, toward the end about just how it's focused on not this is how we did it, how we do it in science class, how we do it in any of these different things, but this is how students learn. I think that's so important for people to pull out there and take that away. I really appreciate the backstory, the depth you went in there right there, man. I really appreciate you breaking that down for us. So we're going to give away a copy of the book, but we're going to do that a little bit later, so make sure you keep listening around. We're going to do that because Dave's been awesome and is giving us a copy to give that away to someone who's listening here, so make sure you hang out for the rest of the episode for that. Dave, I want to get into, this is my favorite question I ask all the time, although right now I think in this very moment, the question I just asked was my favorite because your answer was so good. However, typically it's this question about failure and pulling from an experience that we've had where we've had a failure, a struggle, something we've had to overcome, and then pulling what we've learned from that. Because I think it's so powerful to pull from those experiences. So can you take us to a time that you've had a failure, kind of take us there with you, share with us what happened, how did you overcome that, and what did you pull away from that experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could really look at my first 3 years teaching and pick any day that you want, because there were a lot of them in the beginning. And I think my biggest failure is putting my deficiencies on students. So in the beginning of my career, when things didn't go the way that I thought they should, it was easy for me to dismiss it as, well, this didn't happen because they didn't study, they didn't put in the time, they didn't put in the effort. And so, that I think was my biggest failure, because I think I actually failed those students with that mindset. And it wasn't until I had a few years of experience that I actually understood, oh, wait a second. There's more than just them not wanting to do well there. And that's really the biggest lesson that I took from that. And that was one of the motivations that drove me in this direction to look at assessment and grade reform, because I was somebody who never really struggled with school. It's something that just kind of came easy to me. And when I became a teacher, I was alternate route. So I had zero formal training. I didn't take an education class until after my first day in the classroom, which is crazy. So seeing how I was taught and how we're putting all of this on students, that failure led me to my mission to reform assessment and grading and just really make this experience more beneficial for all. To this kind of conversation, we focus too much on how can we differentiate an A from a B, rather than saying, how can we create a pathway for all students to learn? And that was really my biggest takeaway from all that.
Dave, I love talking grading, but I really, really appreciate you also sharing the narrative, the story behind all these pieces. Because nobody ever just wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to make a drastic change and I have no idea how it's going to go, right? But we all see all of these tiny bits and pieces of evidence and growth and everything in between. And slowly but surely, over the course of many months and many years, we finally get to a point where our grading mindset has shifted. And it really excites me. We're actually in a phase right now with Teach Better where we're doing a lot of support, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We're doing this live stream called Focus on the Focus, like all about grading. And I just love, regardless of what the conversation really gets into, I love these conversations. So thank you for bringing all of this to us. When it comes to what is fueling your fire, what's really keeping you excited about education and everything you're doing, what would be that for you?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head right now, just that opportunity, right? And I know that's crazy to say in a time like this because things are so limited and we don't have our full student body in classes, but just the opportunity to have those conversations because we're seeing right now that there are so many inefficiencies with the way we've always done school. And, people are more receptive to these conversations. And I've had them with people all over the country and in different countries. And it's just great that not everybody, but, there are a lot of people who are now willing to say, you know what, I get it. There does need to be change. And I think the people who are hesitant are the ones, not that they think it's a bad idea, they just don't know where to start, but they're willing to have that conversation now to say, okay, how can I start? And that to me is very exciting. And, it makes me want to talk to as many people as possible.
See? Ugh, I love that. So I want to get to advice. Advice is always something that I feel like as educators, we provide all the time, right? We're always eager to share, especially with the work you do. Clearly, you are always available for educators who want to do better. But when it comes to identifying one piece of advice that you'd want to give teachers, what would that one piece be? I'm sure it's very hard to pick one.
Take risks, right? That is the best piece of advice I could give to not just teachers, to anybody. Take risks, right? But especially for teachers, because our students get so used to seeing us do everything right. They never see us step outside of our comfort zone because, we have our curriculum. We've taught it for years that all they see is perfection. And when they're not that, they think there's something wrong with them. But when you take risks and step outside of your comfort zone, they can see that, not everything works and it's okay, right? How do we respond when that lesson bombs? How do we respond when that demo doesn't work, right? How do we come back and just show them that, all right, it's not a big deal, right? Things don't go well all the time. And modeling that for students and letting them know that their education isn't linear, right? It's not a straight shot to you're a novice and now you're an expert. No, there's a lot of pitfalls along the way, and taking risks helps them see that. Plus, it puts you in positions to learn things that you never would have expected, meet people you never would have met. All around, it's just been probably the most positive thing that I've done in my career.
I love just the focus on showing the students, and it goes back to modeling behavior, but modeling how do I handle a setback? How do I handle when, like you said, when that lesson plan bombs, instead of trying to hide it and pretend like it didn't go bad, sharing with them and showing them that hey, it's okay. We make mistakes and this is how you get past it. This is how you handle it. That goes back to that infusing those skills in them, right? I love that. All right, let's we're gonna get into the 6 questions really quick, but let's do a book giveaway. So we're gonna give away a copy of your book, Going Gradeless. And we're gonna go to Twitter because I know you're active on Twitter.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, can I clarify? Can I win? Because I already have it in my Amazon account, so I just want to it's already in the cart.
We do this you did this during the entire 12-hour live. You do this all the time. You don't get to win.
But Jeff,
you get to host the podcast with me. You win all the time.
But Jeff, it's on Going Gradeless. I literally already have an Amazon cart and PayPal is hooked up. So should I just click buy now because I can't win, or what's the plan here, buddy?
I think you should click buy now.
So you're saying I can't win?
I'm just saying you should click buy now.
Okay, I'm going to click buy now. Go ahead with the instructions.
Well, thank you, Ray.
If you want to win a copy of the book, head over to Twitter and tweet out. Make sure you at Teach Better Team, hashtag Teach Better Talk. And then, Dave, can you throw us what's your Twitter handle?
It's at David Frangiosa.
Can you spell that for everybody?
David, Frangiosa.
All right, so make sure you tag Dave as well. And let's just do a simple question, Dave. How about share with us, what does a grade represent in your classroom? Now that I say that might not be a simple answer, but do that in a tweet, and we'll pick someone, and someone will get a copy of David's book, man. Appreciate you doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
we love doing that.
No problem.
So appreciate that a whole lot. Let's have some fun. We'll do the next 6 questions. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. What is one EdTech tool you cannot live without?
My LMS. I use Canvas. I have my entire course on there. That's how I communicate with students and parents. That's it.
Give us a book you're reading right now.
I'm really not reading books. I read a lot of research, but the last 2 books that I read, which were awesome, We Got This by Cornelius Minor and Troublemakers by Carla Shalaby.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
Chris Nessie, Stacy Lindis, and AJ Bianco at Podcast BD, and my friends over at The Peg Doesn't Fit.
Give us a good YouTube channel, website, or podcast educators should check out.
School Rubric. They have a ton of great educators over there. They have podcasts, blogs. They're doing a ton of great stuff over there. Schoolrubric.com.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
I think self-reflection and student surveys, right? Ask yourself and your students what worked, what didn't, how can we adjust?
And give us the best piece of advice you've ever received.
Whatever you do, always have the student's best interest in mind.
Whew. Boy, he destroyed this in the best way possible. Didn't he, Ray?
I know. Dave, did you study for this part of the podcast? What's the deal?
You know what? This is what I live every day.
Oh.
You know, so this is just, I love education, love talking about it. I have these conversations. So,
good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want him to say, Jeff? He's just that great. Like, that's essentially it.
I'm good with that. We can leave it at that. I'm good.
Well, Dave, I'm excited to tell you that you won the Teach Better trophy. I unfortunately have to break the news to you that, as previously announced in previous episodes, there is no Teach Better Talk trophy. But trust me, dude, you won it. Trust me.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Jeff, did you see those tweets out, by the way, about people that were listening to the episode when you spoiled the news that there is no Teach Better Talk trophy?
Did I ruin it for people? I try to ignore negative things. No.
I want to preface, the tweet I read this morning was, "It's with a heavy heart that I announced." And it was them saying we've ruined Santa for them. I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry. Whoever that was that tweeted it out, I'm very, very sorry. I did not mean to do that. I will look into getting an actual trophy.
Ooh, you heard it here first, people.
I didn't say I was going to get it. I said I'd look into it.
Well, I mean, looking into it
is a big difference there.
It's a step in the right direction.
It is a step in the right direction. You're right.
That's all I'm saying. Well, I want to make sure, Dave, that everybody is able to connect with you. If you wouldn't mind sharing your website, your Twitter handle again, I want you to repeat the book title, just anywhere that they can go to connect with your content.
Sure. So Twitter, that's the best place to reach me. It's at David Frangiosa. That's DavidFrangiosa. The book is Going Gradeless, Shifting the Focus to Student Learning. That's with Corwin Press. I have a blog and a website, reimagineschools.com, and put out a podcast weekly, just with a lot of the concepts from the book.
I love it. You can find all the links, all the resources, and everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the really important links for connect with Dave and keep the conversation going. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes, and give us a rating and review if you can. We really, really appreciate that a lot. And let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators, and just share this podcast with them. David, man, this was awesome. So much value in this episode. I'm super excited for people to learn from it, to hopefully reach out and connect with you and keep those conversations going. And excited to just continue to get to know you more. You're part of the family now. You can't get rid of us. It just is what it is. But really, really appreciate you taking some time and hanging out with us, man.
Well,
thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.